If you're starting your Montague build project today, that means that you've looked at the project guide in Schoology so that you have an overview of the design process, and you've done step 1, which is to look at the design brief. I want to emphasize that the design brief contains the required components of this project, and one of the important ones is that you have to use at least 5 of the 8 attachment techniques that you see in that project outline, and those are the ones that we practiced in class, that we experimented with. Step 2 is research. Step 3 is the blueprint. Don't rush this stage. The paper, the blank blueprint paper is here in the white basket, and for those of you that have already started, you will find your blueprint in this black basket, unless it's in the other room. And don't rush this stage, because not only are you being assessed on this component, because it is part of the design process, but you need it. You need it as a guide, because it's true that you might kind of make up a little bit of the sculpture as you go along, but it's good to have a rough idea of where your dominant visual elements are. And so put in the time to doing a good blueprint. Like, look at this one, for instance. So just by looking at this sketch, the student has an idea of where those dominant dark visual elements are. And that reminds me of the principle of design that we were exploring in a previous class, balance. So in other words, you can balance out the dominant visual elements in the blueprint stage. When you're ready to start building, help yourself to one of these squares of black foam board, but only take one, and keep in mind that you won't get a second one because we have limited quantities of these. Along with the foam board, you'll also find on this table the black railroad board that we're using for the main structural components of this Montague build relief sculpture. So remember, it's a relief sculpture, so this foam board is the backing. So that's going to eventually go on a wall, and then all those paper cutout forms are going to come out of that black backing. So those paper cutout forms will be made from this black railroad board. So you can help yourself to that too. And the blue cutting mats are here as well. I think you can probably get by with scissors for the most part of this project, but if you want to use the X-Acto knife and a blue cutting mat, then certainly help yourself. On this long table is where you will find rulers, the glue that we're using for this project, the X-Acto knives if you need, although the cutting mats are on the other table. And then there's tape here so that you can label the back of your black foam board. Scissors are also on this stand. Students who have already started building have been storing their sculptures in 2303, our digital room. 2303 is this digital art room over here. And as you can see, some students have already started using the tables in here to store their Montague build assignment. So you should do the same if you actually start building today. So put your black railroad board on the table, the piece that you didn't use, that you're cutting parts out of. And then also put your black foam board and your blueprint. And the blueprint has your name on it, so that's one way to identify whose pile is whose. Along with keeping your blueprint with your started Montague build project, which includes your foam backing and maybe your sheet of black railroad board, or maybe some small pieces that you've already cut out, along with keeping your blueprint with it in 2303, I think it's a good idea if you label the back of your foam board. So use a piece of masking tape and put your name on the back of the foam board. So we should have enough table room in here for all of you to store your Montague build assignment in here in 2303. If you don't actually start building today, then you don't need to put your blueprint with your foam board in 2303. You can keep the blueprint in the black basket here. But remember, the white basket is for the blank blueprints. If you're not quite finished with the repetition digital assignment, take the time to finish it first, or maybe you need to use your computer to examine the Bonteque Build project guide. So do that as well before you actually start the blueprint of the Bonteque Build. You could also use your computers for step 2 of the design process, which is to do some research. And then of course step 1 is looking at the design brief. So that's in the Bonteque Build file that's in Schoology.